But let's focus on that guy you were talking about in regards to Walker. Aidan Hutchinson played in Michigan. Obviously, he was a Michigan Wolverine. He's staying in Jim Harbaugh, quote, the great state of Michigan, now playing with the Detroit Lions, getting picked second overall, Jeff. This is a guy, he doesn't really have the same skills as like the Bosa brothers, for example, but his potential and his quickness and his skilled hand play, this is really going to help this Lions team going forward, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think there's a couple things here, that we need to be aware of, right? And one of them was a little, just a snippet after he was drafted that I thought was really, if I'm a Lions fan or I'm somebody in that building, when the kid says it, I go, yes, that's our guy. Because what he said when he was interviewed right after he was drafted by the Lions is, I get to stay home in Detroit, right? Not I have to go to Detroit, because the want to be there, the want to turn that program, his home state team, it is, Michael, when I talked to Lions fans this week around Vegas, they were unanimous in hoping that Hutchinson would fall to them with the second pick. And I am sure that Dan Campbell and everybody in that building in Detroit, Chris Spielman and everybody that's in the decision-making process in Detroit, was elated to have that kid. I thought the Lions had a phenomenal first day, because think about what they did. They had those two picks, and you get the highest rated defensive player and you get the highest rated receiver in the draft with your two picks. Now, you took Penei Sewell last year, who is, a phenomenally talented offensive lineman. Those are the kinds of picks you need to make to turn your franchise.
Every player is like this, but Hutchinson really is a guy that will not give up until the end of that game. And this is the sort of player that Detroit needs. And I'm really intrigued to see what's going to happen, Jeff. And look, he's really able to create separation in many different ways. And he's really got massive types of aggression. And I think you're really going to see him create a difference on the football field from week one, from day one, from that first game. What do you think his ceiling is in Detroit? Like, do you think who is the higher ceiling, Walker or Hutchinson for you?
Well, well, there's no question Walker has the highest ceiling, because he's an unbelievable athlete, right? You don't find guys at his size that can bend and accelerate and run the way he can run, right? Now, again, David Carr makes a great point, right? And I got to give props to guys that I think know what they're talking about. David Carr was a quarterback in the National Football League for a lot of years, right? Now, that doesn't make him an authority, but it makes him a guy I want to listen to. Right? So what David Carr says is, okay, everybody talks about his position flexibility because he can run like that, right? And yes, at Georgia, they did drop him into coverage some, right? But he's not an instinctive coverage player. He's a guy you can drop into coverage 3 or 4 times a game, right? He has the coverage skills that Von Miller had when he was playing for Wade Phillips. Every once in a while, you drop him into coverage, just as a changeup. You don't want to do it on a steady diet because he's not an instinctive player in space, right? That's the concern that I have with the kid, is if you are that talented, right? You have those kind of measurables, and you're playing on a defense with great players around you, right? Because Georgia had more defensive players drafted than any team in history yesterday, right? How can you not show up more than you show up on tape? Because it's always the tape. You always go back to the tape. Now, Trent Baalke is a measurements guy. And it's worked for him in the past. Aldon Smith, measurement guy at Missouri, not somebody who was a household name. He comes and he has, I think, 14 and a half sacks in 2 years or some crazy thing, right? And then couldn't handle himself off the field and, is out of the NFL. But he did translate from Missouri to the NFL. This kid's going to have to make the same transfer.